Buddy, it's Jake and Kevin from the Paws podcast. This is our post game show.
Dude.
This is our post game show. FIU loses in overtime to the Flames. Final score was, what was it, 31-24, and wow, what a game! We had high hopes coming out of halftime that maybe something could happen here, and ultimately, we came a touchdown away, a possession away in overtime. Kevin, they say that there's this common trope, right? There's this common trope in sports where losses can feel like wins if you played hard enough against a good opponent. They say that a lot. But I don't think that resonates super well in college football because now FIU has a 2-4, is it right? 2-4 record, but it sucks. I understand that a lot of people thought we were going to get blown out, ourselves included, and going to be completely honest up front with you all. We both predicted pretty comfortable wins for Liberty, but as it would turn out, FIU played with a lot of toughness and grit, but they still made some massive mistakes that costed them the game.
Yeah, I mean, that was not the game I was expecting to watch tonight, to be honest with you. I was expecting to have a recap done by the third quarter, but credit to the Panthers, man. They really fought, and there's no other way to say it. Yeah, you talk about mistakes, and really those mistakes were made up. I mean, there's just that one mistake that with Q1 just can't be made up. The only sack of the game, I believe, I want to say. I mean, I'll confirm that right now real quick, but yeah, that was the only sack of the game, and it was the game-winning one. So, yeah, I mean, tough for sure. You had a really, really nice game from Q1. 245 yards passing, one interception. Unfortunately, that was on the first play of the second half. Great games from both Dean Patterson, Eric Rivers, 90+ yards for both. KJ Owens looked really good. He had 52 rushing yards with one touchdown. So did Kiwan. And then you had obviously Dean Patterson with the touchdown there as well. So overall, I mean, FIU played their hearts out. There's no other way to say it. That had to be one of the most exciting games I've ever watched this FIU team play under Coach McIntyre. I just don't think there's another way to say it. I know the result is what it is, but there was a lot of positives. And again, you have to ask yourself just how much does this have to do with Liberty maybe being away from the game 15, 17 days. But, I mean, Keywan outdueled Caden Salter. There's just no other way to say it. He threw for more yards, threw more passes. But then what Liberty does best is what they did in overtime. I mean, you ran for 100. Cooley ran for 174 yards as a team. They ran for 281. I mean, they dominated the ground game. There's no other way to say it. FIU really did not let Sibley do much. Only one catch for 13 yards. Yeah. And then defensively for FIU, Travion Barnes just continues to ball out, man. 16 total tackles, 7 solo, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. And then you have Elijah Anderson-Taylor with 11 total tackles. JoJo Evans, CJ Christian, and Jamal Potts all with 7. I mean, FIU played well. There's just no other way to say it. There was that saying, to be the best, you have to beat the best. FIU played up there with the best. And I know you kind of look back and you think about the Monmouth game, but, I mean, if FIU would have won this tonight, I feel like you wouldn't be talking about Monmouth. You'd be talking about the potential to win, to be in the conference championship. Honestly, I mean, if you beat that team, you have the right to beat every single other team up until the end of the season. But tough one. I think FIU, there were some decision making things obviously that we were talking about before that definitely could have gone FIU's way. You probably going for it on fourth down. Definitely, I think you look back and that was a big one. Probably shouldn't have done that. Probably should have just taken your 3 points. I mean, hey man, there's different ways to look at it, but yeah, I mean, you take those 3 points, Prado makes it. You're right now. This is not the tone of this podcast, but no, man. Probably could have gone for 2 instead of taking the field goal, playing a little bit conservative, but when you're playing with Liberty, they find a way to win, man. And
that's what they do so well.
And it's also worth noting, I mean, Liberty did not play a clean game whatsoever. They had 9 penalties.
They played terribly.
So, I mean, when you look at the last, God knows how many games Liberty has won in the regular season, FIU's come closest to beating them. I know there was another overtime game in 22 against Southern Miss, but FIU's truly come the closest to beating this team, and I think that should go a long way. And you got to feel good. I mean, you have a stretch against, I want to say, UTEP, Sam Houston, and New Mexico State. FIU should be able to at least win 2 out of 3. And honestly, they I think at this point you could look at it and say they should win all 3, because they are in a moment right now where you really don't have much more room for error. And again, that comes back to just the non-con slate of it, but we're not going to look back at that. I mean, you knew this was going to be a loss at some point entering the season. I mean, we could have, again, Jake, we predicted Liberty to win. There's just no other way to say it.
By a lot.
Yes, by a lot, exactly. So, yeah, FIU really needs to be perfect from here on out, and that's going to be tough.
And yeah, like you had just mentioned, Liberty played really bad ball today, all things considered. Caden Salter looked okay, but he hasn't looked as good as some of the previous games that he's played. And we talked about FIU's defense needing to adjust at halftime. I think they did. I think for the most part they did. They limited the Flames to how many points did they score in the second half? Need to check the notes. 14 against a defense with as many veteran playmakers as Liberty. That's something to be proud of. But let's just get to the two turning points of this game. I would say, and you had mentioned it. With plenty of time to go in the fourth quarter, FIU drove down the field, was stopped on third down. It was fourth and 2. It was 4th and 2. Then they had 2 options. They could have gone for the field goal by Prado, which, by the way, did not look bad today, regardless. And you'd be and the score would be what was it? It'd be 24-20, right? It would be 24-20 at that point, I believe. And then it's a completely different ball game. And if things progress the way they were, you probably don't even need to get into overtime. Things can happen. That's how college football works. But FIU decides to go for it. They decide to go for it on 4th down. They run a fade pass, which is probably, I think, the worst play you could have gone for on 4th down. A fade pass to the end zone. Should have gone at least for the 3 yards to get the first down. But I think both of us were in agreement the moment that they brought the offense back onto the field, because I think that was right after the 2-minute timeout, that they should have kicked the field goal and force your defense to make a stop against Liberty, which they ultimately ended up doing. So you do that, and you have the ball back, and instead of having to go, so much could have happened if that were to have happened, if they kicked the field goal. That was turning point number 1. Turning point number 2 was on after FIU's touchdown to tie the game up and ultimately send the game into overtime. They kicked a PAT, which, I mean, at the time, it made sense. There's only 2 minutes to go. Again, you want to rely on your defense, force them to make a stop, which they ended up doing, which is good. However, Liberty was called for an offsides. If FIU were to have accepted the offsides penalty, that would have pushed the ball to the 1-yard line. And then at that point, like you and I mentioned earlier, Kevin, Liberty was expected to win by a lot. We didn't pick them to win. If they accepted that penalty, they could have attempted a 2-point conversion to take the lead at the ball on the 1-yard line to potentially win the game. But they decided not to do that. Instead, kick the PAT, force the game into overtime, and see what happens, which obviously did not go their way. I have to say that was not a good showing by FIU's offense in overtime, just straight up. They didn't look good at all. They relied on the run, and when they wanted to rely on the pass, they got smoked for it. I think they should have gone for the 2-point conversion near the end of regulation. If you score, you potentially win the game outright. And if you didn't, well, you gave it your all, and the result would have been the same than what it ultimately turned out anyway. I think those were 2 major points in this game where I think the play calling they screwed up, the play calling wise. And I know it's a woulda, coulda, shoulda kind of sport, but I'm upset. This is angry. I'm heated right now, Kevin. I didn't think I would be heated. If FIU got blown out, I would have been like, all right, it's Liberty. You got to move on to UTEP. But the fact that they came up just short into getting one of maybe the biggest wins, not just in the Mike McIntyre era, but up there in program history, to snap like what is it, an 11-game regular season winning streak for Liberty. FIU could have been the team to have done that, and I think two poor coaching decisions helped Liberty sneak by and win like they always do.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. At this point, it's tough. I mean, it would have been a huge win, obviously. I think you look back at it, I mean, probably would have been the biggest win since that Miami game. There's just no other way to say it. I mean, you would have beat the best team in the G5, or at least one of the best teams in the G5. And
a team that's getting top 25 votes,
But you look at it now, I mean, for Liberty, it's going to be interesting because now you played a very close game with New Mexico State.
Mm-hmm.
You played a very close game now with FIU, two teams that particularly just shouldn't be good. And I mean, I don't know if you're going to be looking at Liberty to make to be the best team in G5. You have Boise State, you have a UNLV who's playing real good ball right now, and yeah, I mean, it sucks. It definitely sucks that FIU lost this one, but I mean, you have a stretch where they could definitely make some things happen. Going to UTEP, then you have the Vice game, and then obviously New Mexico State, which has struggled a lot this season. All games FIU should be able to win.
A win today would have forgiven that loss to Monmouth. That would have been completely forgiven that they stumble against Monmouth if you turn around and beat Liberty. I mean, it just sucks because FIU played their absolute guts out. They gave everything they had, but I'm sorry, we're rooting for the team. We're fans of the team. I've been since, before I became a student at FIU and still now, but it just sucks that the coaching staff made a couple of poor decisions that ultimately bit FIU in the rear pretty freaking hard. But regardless, you have to give you have to give a standing ovation to what FIU did today. It was nothing short of spectacular in a game. Nobody counted them on. Nobody counted them in, not even us. And they came out and denied all the expectations, and they came up just short. I mean, you said it, Kewan Jenkins. He played really good. 19 for 29, 245 yards, no touchdowns. He did throw that pick, which I think the ball was tipped anyway. The ball was tipped anyway. I hate when those kinds of passes are still counted as quarterback interceptions because it wasn't Jenkins' fault for that interception. He did not score a passing touchdown, but he did. They went for the tush push to score that final touchdown as well. I wasn't too mad about that because it was successful. But what I am mad about is not accepting that offsides penalty and going for it at the end there. I feel like that would have been a baller move. And I felt like FIU's offense had all the momentum in the world, Kevin. Don't you think that they would have had a fantastic shot to convert that 2-point conversion on like the 1 yard line?
I did think there was a lot of momentum on FIU's side, which is why when Keyshawn scored that touchdown, I was looking at the stat broadcast. I'm like, wow, I mean, this is taking kind of a while for this field goal to go through. And I mean, not the field goal, I'm sorry, the extra point to go through. Yeah. And I mean, they didn't go for it. I definitely would have considered that. I would assume when we asked Coach Mack on Friday, what if that was a consideration, I think he would say yes. So We'll see what happens, man. I mean, got to turn the page, look at UTEP, and hope that FIU could take this momentum from a game that honestly was probably one of the best I've seen play in a while from this team, maybe aside from Central Michigan and in a very long time to El Paso, where they've really struggled these last couple of years.
Oh, I slammed my hand on the wall the moment they strip sacked at the end, and it's still red, man. It's still kind of stinky. It's just disappointing. I did not think I'd be this pissed off at an FIU loss to Liberty, but that's just the way we are right now. And
0-3 against Liberty all the time.
You look across the board, by the way. Dean Patterson and Eric Rivers both played out of their minds today. All things considered, both of them got 90 yards. Rivers with 95. And you look at Caden. Let's agree on something here right now. This Liberty team. Now I'm going to start to sound like a salty loser. I get it, but this Liberty team is nowhere near the team they were last season. If they can't blow teams out of the water like they did all of last year, I don't think. I'm starting to think like they're not. I'm starting to think they might not be the best team in Conference USA. I'm starting to think that if they were to play the Sam Houston or the Western Kentucky, I'm starting to think it might go the other way now. Maybe it depends on where the game is, but obviously Liberty plays great at Williams Stadium. It's a tough environment. That place was packed. The fans were rowdy. It looked a little weird with the Joker paint jobs and whatnot. I'm just gonna say that. I'm sorry. I know there's probably some Liberty fans watching this, probably with a feeling of joy, but come on, man. I don't know. I was not super. All this to say, I guess I'm not very impressed with what I've seen from Liberty so far this season, and today was another example of that.
Yeah, I mean they lost some guys. I mean CJ Daniels is off to LSU, which has really limited the pass game, as we saw today with Salter only throwing for 125 yards, only completing 9 passes. So no touchdowns, no interceptions. But yeah, I mean Trayon Sibley, you got to give Brian Blades a lot of credit. He really locked down Sibley and kept him out of the Liberty offense. And I believe his name is Reese Smith, the player who injured himself towards the end. That did not look good at all. So we're wishing him nothing but the best. Hopefully he's able to get back on the field, but that did not look pretty. The knee injury to Reese Smith there, who had 3 touchdown catches against East Carolina and Liberty's last game. But yeah, I think you're kind of right to a certain extent. I mean, Liberty's by far still the best team in the conference. I don't think that changes. They've played really good ball. There's no other way to say it. But I really wouldn't say that they're not the best team. I mean, this is a team that still has one of the best rush attacks in the nation. That defensive line, I really thought FIU was going to make their adjustments, and they just kept going for it on these 3rd and 1s and 4th and 1s on, going right down the middle. You would have thought maybe they would have considered some pass plays at some point, but it's okay. Liberty is still a really good team. They have a really good defense. I think I do agree. They're bound to break. They're not going to go undefeated again, in my opinion. They still have to play Sam Houston. So
their last 2 games are against Western and Sam Houston. I don't think I'm starting to think they might not win either.
We'll see what happens, but yeah, definitely a tough loss for FIU, and just time to move on.
Caleb says, tough loss, but great fight from the Panthers. I will agree to that. They were down 24-10 at one point. They could have folded. They could have given up, but they fought back, and they looked really good at times. But it's disappointing. This is I don't think there was a single game last season where I felt this disappointed after a loss. Maybe the Arkansas game, because it ended our chance at a bowl game. But I mean, it was against an FCC team, so it doesn't hold the same merit.
I think the Monmouth game definitely kind of got
it did,
but I mean, this one definitely
it did. But it was still very early in the season, and they sort of rebounded with that win over Louisiana Tech the following week. But listen, I mean, if FIU were to win, stop it, Isaac. If FIU were to win this game, that Monmouth game is forgiven. The FAU game is forgiven. And now you have 3 wins, and you still have to take on UTEP, Kennesaw, New Mexico State, like I think you mentioned earlier, Kevin. So.
There was more room for error, which is not good to say, but yeah, man. I mean, at this point, just again, gotta move.
So what does FIU have to do to earn our forgiveness? They can start by dropping 50 points on UTEP next week.
Yeah, unfortunately,
maybe they can. I don't know. Again, the offense looked good at times. That 2-play swing from the Jenkins bomb to Eric Rivers, and then casually
that 40-yard pass
was beautiful. That was a thing of art. And then Owens just casually just walked into the end zone. That was just amazing look on the offense. And yeah, there were at times where Liberty's secondary couldn't keep up with them. But
yeah,
it's an overtime loss. What was the last overtime game for FIU? It was the Sam Houston game.
It was the Sam Houston game. FIU was 2-0 with MAC in overtime games. So I found it interesting, that happened. Honestly, if I was FIU, I would have even tried to make something happen with 22 seconds left. Man, yeah. I mean,
I know they took a knee. I think you have to at least throw the ball once.
I would have tried something like that, obviously, because. Yeah. I mean, man, going to overtime with Liberty was a choice. I'll say that for sure. But
I know.
Again, move the page. Turn the page.
They also spent a very long time reviewing that fumble in which that receiver was.
I was like, oh,
that's not. They're taking a long time here. Maybe something. Listen, if it was in Pitbull Stadium, maybe it could have been reversed. But no, it's in Williams. And honestly, I know I sound salty and mad, but if you look at the replay, his knee was clearly down before that.
Yeah, no, he was down. Yeah.
For sure. Maybe FIU could get a break, but not there, not in Lynchburg.
No, I mean FIU got a lot of breaks.
They did, but
so, yeah.
For a call that big, I'm not shocked that they didn't go that way. How did Travion Barnes end up, by the way? He had a monster game in the first
16 total tackles, 2 sacks, 7 solo, 3 tackles for loss. I mean, that guy is going to break the FIU single season total tackle record, and he's on pace. So, and he definitely made a good case to move up in the country's standings for total tackles. We'll see that updated either tomorrow or Thursday.
He's really making a name for himself. Travion Barnes, man.
He's going to be in the SEC next year.
Okay, Kev.
Hey, man.
All right. So we've been rambling on for 20 minutes here. So yeah, this sucks. FIU loses, and I'm mad that I am mad because of an FIU loss, but just the way the game turned out, some of the poor decision making on FIU's part, again, with that going on 4th down and it ended up not working, and then not going for the 2-point conversion. I think that's going to haunt. It's going to haunt this team for a couple of days until they get ready for UTEP. Why didn't they do those things? But I guess that is the positive here. The season's still not over. They could win a lot of games coming up and be bowl eligible again. So what? They need to win 4 more games. You have UTEP, winnable game, right? New Mexico State, winnable game. Kennesaw, winnable game. And then you end the season with Middle Tennessee. Those are all winnable games. Those could be your 4 wins if you play your cards right, if the team stays healthy, and if you don't make some weird decisions coaching-wise. But, yeah. Okay, then. Final score, Liberty 31, FIU 24 in overtime. Kevin, we had an idea for an episode 71 lined up, but things kind of fell through. We'll let you know if there's an episode this week. If there's not, just stay tuned, bro. We will obviously do our pause up preview for the UTEP game. We're going to try to get the Minor Talk podcast on. They do some great work over there covering UTEP athletics. Both Adrian and Zay do really good work there. I think we're going to talk with Zay, which should be fun. But that's going to be a Wednesday nighter. By the way, Kevin, your thoughts on midweek football coming back, the Tuesday games and the Wednesday games.
It helps when, there's no school tomorrow or Thursday. So
that is true. Stay safe, everyone. Please stay safe. I think the hurricane's going to be now expected late Wednesday, early Thursday. That's like the time where Milton's going to be moving in. Stay safe, everybody. Make sure you're good on supplies. Make sure you're if you're living in a place that's not safe, go somewhere where it is safe. Maybe the Trop, the Trop. I know that's a hurricane shelter kind of place over there in St. Pete, which I know might take a big hit. Fort Myers now is expected to get a big hit from this hurricane. So stay safe. You don't want to go out to a hurricane named Milton. Come on, man. And just please stay safe. So we'll leave you there. Liberty 31, FIU 24 in overtime. FIU will be back on Wednesday. Kevin, I'm not excited about this. 9 p.m. kickoff against UTEP in El Paso. I don't like those late night games.
Hopefully I'm there.
I don't like these late night because this is going to be at midnight. This post-game show is probably going to be at midnight then for that game.
Hey man, this may be just you. Who knows if I'm there or not? So.
Okay, Kev. All right, I see you. Alrighty then. Any final thoughts before we wrap up here, Kev? I think we've said pretty much everything we need to say.
Yeah, not much more to say. Just got to keep it going.
Thanks for the coverage. By the way, thanks for the coverage. I did want to say that we had a lot of love this whole week, hyping up this Liberty game. Even the Liberty fans showed out and provided support as well for our preview show. Got a lot of Liberty spectators. I know Fan the Flames did a great job.
I think they expected this not to happen. I think they expected a larger victory. Yeah. So they were showing support.
Alrighty then, we'll wrap it up there.
Like a Make-A-Wish type thing.
You're not helping my mood right now, Kevin. I'm still not completely okay. My hand is still red as hell. I'm not going to show it.
All right, let's wrap it up.
All right, pause up, and we'll see you guys next week.